So today what I'm going to be painting is actually a Caribbean scene, and I'm saying Caribbean scene because I asked on a previous video some of the videos that you might want to see me paint, or some of the paintings you might want to see me paint, and one of the suggestions was something Caribbean. So I picked this palm tree and ocean kind of scene, and then I guess I'm just going to see how it goes. I haven't really painted a lot of scenes like this, and I've also been trying to kind of explore a really loose style, and so I'm going to try and do that. And I have to be honest with you that I'm not really sure how it's going to go. And I'm actually just going to grab a pencil here out of my pencil bag so I can do a little bit of just a light sketch. And I'm just going to do a light sketch so I kind of know what I'm doing based on this reference photo. So we'll see, like I said, how it goes. I have no idea, but this will be interesting. All right, so honestly, a lot of times now, I just approach watercolors like a fun experiment. And so you probably can't see this quite on video, but I'm just laying out a little bit of where I think the leaves will go. I'm not drawing them. I'm just blocking out sort of areas for myself so I can see them on paper and how they're laying out. So the rough location of bushes, just really lightly with pencil. And so I think that's all I'm going to do. So again, I have no idea how this is going to turn out, but the thing is somebody told me recently that sometimes it's nice to see mistakes, and I've done this before on my channel where I just share. I'm okay with sharing kind of the blunders or the mistakes that I've made or the things that haven't turned out the best, and it seems like people appreciate seeing it. I don't know if it's because they feel like well, I mean, I do know because they've said it, but people have said that it makes them feel like it's not just them, or they're less alone, or that even, like quote unquote, someone like me makes mistakes. And honestly, I make a lot of mistakes, and I think that that's the thing is a lot of people don't, they don't believe that people that have been painting longer than them make bad paintings, but I make bad paintings all the time. And so I just kind of thought maybe it would be fun to paint more I guess I can use the word authentically, where you can kind of see my very first exploration attempts, and then I will choose to just upload it and post it anyway, even if it doesn't turn out great. So, like I said, like today I sat down and I told myself, I want to explore this looser style. And I mean, I could revert back to painting the way that I'm comfortable with and that I kind of know how it's going to turn out, I guess. It's like, well, and I never always know how watercolors are going to turn out, but I do have an idea of like how to get to a certain point, and then I could just do it that way. And if I did it that way, the results would be a little bit more expected, or at least I could expect the results to be more reliable. But like I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to explore today. And sometimes when I paint, like explore like this, it actually feels more fun and more free. And so I don't know, we'll just see how it turns out. And so another thing I was going to share today as I paint this is that the reason why I wanted to share painting like this with you, which is a little different than my normal video, is because I feel like my normal video is more of a way for people to kind of really learn from, meaning you could watch it and then follow along and then know that if you use sort of the similar techniques that you see being done, then you could probably most likely get a very similar result. And while that's great, right? Like, I think it's a great thing to be able to do. I think that there is power in watching somebody make mistakes, because I think that because I'm learning from the mistakes, then it's possible that you will too, just by watching me do things and seeing them go wrong in a way. And so, again, I think this is always, it's like a lifelong learning process, and that I would kind of bet that anybody you ask who you think is better than you or has mastered this craft, they'll still tell you that they're always learning, because I honestly feel like I'm always learning and exploring. And I think that's when interesting results come out, is when you're not afraid to do something poorly or make ugly things. And I'm in this phase right now where I think I'm okay with making ugly things, I guess I would say. Sometimes I'm still not immune to it, but I don't want to necessarily share it with the world and let everybody see my ugly paintings, and I say ugly with a grain of salt, because I don't really believe I don't believe that there's really ugly paintings, because beauty is truly in the eye of the beholder. And so some people are going to think it's beautiful while you don't. And a lot of times that's because they haven't done it themselves, right? Like, they wish they were where you are at. And we forget that. We forget, because we're so hard on ourselves, that somebody else is looking at what we're doing and they are where we used to be. And we just spend so much time being self-critical that we miss those things. We forget to be just kind to ourselves, and then honor the journey we're on and all the progress we've made, and really just celebrate the fact that we even did something. I mean, it's easy. I easily could have just decided I didn't want to paint, or didn't want to try this, and just not done it today. And I don't know if that's, in some ways, that's not as good. I think it's important to explore things and give ourselves the time to play and experiment and learn. I mean, honestly, right now, does this not look like a hot mess? It looks kind of like a hot mess, I would say. And I don't know, maybe you're just as curious to see where this goes as I am. I'll try to remember to throw up the reference photos so you can kind of see why I'm doing what I'm doing here. And then I guess maybe, since I'm just doing this, I wanted to take the opportunity to share about what inspired this video, besides the fact that of the things that I already said. But another reason why I wanted to share this version of painting is because I was inspired to start a community. It's a pilot version of it. So it's not even, it's like the first time that I've decided to do this, and to open this community up to people. And it's because of the fact that I started this challenge. And if you don't know about it, it's called the Paint With Me Challenge. And I started this challenge back in December of 2019. And I don't even know. I'm actually not even sure where it came from. I think it came from this desire to paint more for myself. but then also to paint with other people, because I feel like a lot of people had the same block, right, as me, where you want to paint things and you want to get better, but you're not quite sure what to paint. And I recently, at that time, just a couple months prior, I had discovered reference photos in this Facebook group that's specifically for it's like they have photographers in this group, and they are willingly, openly sharing their photographs so that they can be used by artists for their work. So we can take their photos and paint them, and even like sell our art afterwards, because they're basically royalty free. And so I feel like from that group and from using the photos in that group, I've just got so much inspiration. And I thought, sometimes I have a hard time picking the photos, but if I go through the trouble to pick a photo and then I share it with other people and then they paint from that photo too, it would be amazing to see what all of us create and how differently all of our styles are. And I've always been so fascinated by the fact that we all like just naturally have a style that we paint. I don't know, it just comes from our own characters, just how we are. And I think that's like so beautiful, and that's what makes all of our art so unique, is that it's uniquely ours because we are the only ones that see that perspective when we look at that particular photo, and then the strokes we put down on the paper are coming from our experience, our muscle memory, the things that we've learned. And then it's also a snapshot of where we are in our own journey of painting, right? Like how good we are, how much progress we've made, I don't even know. Hopefully I'm explaining it correctly. But that's really how I feel about it, and why I think it's so interesting. And that's what I wanted to really capture in this challenge, is to allow people the opportunity to explore their own style, but also celebrate other people. So take a look at what other people are doing, and then be inspired by them too, and realize that we all have our own unique perspective to offer and to share and to express, and whatever it is, like when we paint. And so that was what really the intention of the challenge was. And so I'll definitely link it for you if you're interested in joining. I'm planning on doing it every single month of 2020, hopefully beyond. But so far, the last 2 months I've done it, it's just been incredible to see all of the feedback and the work that's come out of it. I just think it's just been really inspiring for me, and it's kept me continuing to move forward. And the thing about the challenge is that out of it, a lot of people have been either just commenting on how if I hadn't picked that photo, they never would have tried that particular subject, or once they're starting to paint that subject, a lot of questions start to come up, like how did I approach it? How should they approach it? Even in the progress of the painting, it's like, oh, where do I go from here? And I think that's so, it's so interesting. And while I wish I could properly respond to everybody who's asking me these questions, it's hard. I'm one person, and I also realize that if they have this question, then it's likely that other people have the same question. And so I just thought that I would love to continue the conversation, and I want to be able to support the people that are painting consistently or want to paint consistently, or people like me who just want to continue getting better, but they're, just starting out. And I know what it's like to just be starting out and not really know exactly what to do next, or what to paint, or if I'm even doing the techniques right. And so in order for me to be able to support people in this way, the best way I could think of was to create like a private membership community, because then I'm able to like really be in there with everybody and like talk to everyone, and then we can share our lessons, and then I can share my lessons. I basically, it's just a forum for us to all learn from each other, and there's something so beautiful about that, and I'm really excited about it, and I'm opening it up really soon for a very limited number of people, because I want to, number one, because it's brand new, I want to make sure that how it's being done, how we are learning from each other, the things that people want to learn. I want to make sure that that's tailored and refined in a way that if I do open it up in the future to more people, that it's really valuable. And this is the fun part, is that the people that join, the people that are the founding members of this membership community, are going to help me shape that and to have a lot of input on what they learn. So a lot of personal, I'm definitely going to be spending a lot of personal time with them, because it's going to be a very small group, and then take into account all of the different feedback and requests for things that people want to learn. And then not only that, it's like, I don't know, I have these ideas of doing hot seats. Basically, they're kind of, I call them hot seats. They're like, how do I describe it? They're kind of like personalized coaching or feedback sessions. I get a lot of people asking me for feedback on their paintings. So like what they could do better, what do I think would be better in that painting. And so, like I said, like it's like I feel like I would love to be able to respond to everybody in a more detailed way. And honestly, also when I get these requests, they come on social media or through email. And as you know, for painting, it's really difficult to respond via just using text or written words. It's sometimes easier to do it visually, right? I think most of the time it's probably easier to do it visually, and I can't really necessarily do that, and especially do that with many people, since, as you know, like time is limited, and I don't know, it's hard, right? And so we all know that, and I think it's hard for people to receive feedback that way too. It's probably easier to see it demonstrated or something like that, right? And so let's see, how is this going? There are things already that I'm not super happy with, things that are in my head that I would like to see differently, but that's not how it's turning out. But it's okay, we're gonna just see how this goes. So that is the beauty of exploring, and we'll see. There's something that I don't know if you notice that I do, but I've noticed that I do it, and I really like leaving raw brushstroke edges and kind of painting in a very loose way, like this. I don't know if I'm still exploring how to do it better. But it's slowly, I can see myself slowly doing a better job at expressing what I would like it to look like. One thing about rough paper, and this is a rough watercolor paper, meaning it's got a lot more texture than cold press paper, is that it takes longer to dry. It holds a lot of water, but also once I put so much water on it, definitely there's more waiting time than than I'm normally used to. I think what's interesting is trying to capture the essence of something without doing all the details. And that's what I'm trying to do right now with this palm tree. I think that's what's interesting also about watercolors is that if you're not painting in a realistic style, which I don't typically do, it's not something that I'm very interested in doing. I like painting sort of loose and I wouldn't say wildly. I was about to use the word wildly, but I don't think I'm quite that wild with, maybe not quite as wild as I'd like to be. But I think that the part of the difficulty of watercolors in that sense, when you are trying to paint just with kind of loose details, is basically abstracting the form so that, I think I've said this before, so that our brains can fill in the rest of the information. So you're just letting our brains. So then when you're, well, I'm just going to say it, like when I'm painting, I think that's one of the difficult parts, is making decisions as I'm painting about what it is I include and what I don't include. So how much do I include, or what part of what I'm seeing visually is going to make it into this painting, right? So I'm not going to paint every single leaf, and even to the point of like there are many different branches on this palm tree, and right now it's like me making decisions on what exactly I'm going to paint and whether or not I leave it out or I put it in. And I think that these are the types of things that I want to be able to share with people, especially like in a community, in a more casual way that it's more like live video. And to be honest with you, the reason why is because doing YouTube videos and editing them and things like that, it takes time, and it takes more time than it does to just hop on a live call, right? And actually like share exactly what's going on. There's still a degree of editing, there's a degree of finessing that goes on, right, with these videos. And I feel like that's the beauty of when you go and you learn in person, there's a realness to it, like a real timeness. Wow, I'm not even using the right words, but real time. And I think there's something that we learn that we can't really describe when it becomes real time like that, when it's real time learning, or you're just asking in the moment questions that come up in your head that otherwise you bury, or you decide that you'll ask later and then you forget. And so that's the thing that I am really excited about when I'm like behind the idea of this community, basically, is the idea that I can actually connect with people more often and in a different way, because I feel like I have so much that I'd like to share that I can't necessarily share with everybody. And then the other thing is, like, so many people, like I think I said this before, like a lot of people have the same questions, and you're not the only one thinking these things, right? You're not the only one with this question. And I think a lot of us, we think that maybe we're the only ones that have the question, and we might even deem it to be like a dumb question, but I mean, honestly, everybody says that when there's no dumb questions, and I do think that's true. I think there are, maybe questions that we could figure out ourselves or do research and then find out that are easy. But I don't think there's any dumb questions. I feel like if the question comes up in our head, there's a reason. There's a logic to it that we weren't necessarily able to figure out ourselves, and so sometimes we need somebody else to share it with us. I just realized also I never switched brushes, and that's like another thing I always wonder from other artists is, when do they switch brushes? Or, I mean, I know when technically I should, right? Like the idea of when you would use a different brush, but sometimes the simplicity of just using one brush is really interesting to me. And I think that that's one of the things that I say a lot, is that you don't necessarily have to have a lot of supplies in order to start with watercolors or start painting. Like, a lot of people get caught up with buying all the right supplies or the supplies other people are using, and then telling themselves that they need exactly what other, or the people that they admire, they need those supplies in order to do what they want to do. And I don't know if that, it's not necessarily true. You can do a lot, especially under what is it called? Like when you have restrictions, sometimes you get more creative with what you have. And I think that I feel really proud of myself sometimes when I feel like I made something just using what I had. So I don't know, I would encourage you to try that. And I didn't know how long this was going to take me, because sometimes these kinds of loose paintings, they go fast, and sometimes they go long. So if this starts to get a little bit long, and I might just speed it up now that you can kind of see like what I'm doing. So especially like this part, I might just speed up the video. All right, now that I'm finishing up this water, I just want to share that I could have done such a better job with this horizon line. I think it would have been more successful if it was a very hard line between white and ocean. And I didn't do that, and I have to say that I don't think it's successful there because of it. But like I said, you learn something every time, and I hope that it's like been helpful to see what I'm doing. I don't love this, but I think it was a good exercise for me, and I think every time I paint like this, it's getting me a little bit closer to, and even if it's only a little bit closer, it's still a little bit closer than where I was before to the idea that I have in my head. So the things that I aspire to, or how I aspire for this to look, it just gets me a tiny bit closer. And I hope that this helps. I hope that it's nice for you to see this, and that you can see that it really is truly me just exploring, and not everything's going to turn out well. Perhaps you're watching and you think that you would have approached it differently or had a different way of doing it, and that's that's exactly what it is. I would love to hear. If you do, you could leave me a comment in the comment section. I would love to know. I'm always trying to improve. I'm trying to be, a know-it-all. It's just that I think we all are learning, and the best I can do is to share with you my process and what it is that I'm doing and how it is I'm trying to learn. And hopefully by watching, you'll have had ideas for how you would have done this differently, or you could even just try it the same way I did it and see how it turns out for you. But I honestly feel like it helps me every time to paint, just to explore whether or not it's going to turn out perfect or not. I would say this one is not. It's not perfect. I think I could actually add a little bit more detail here, which I might do right now. Just see how it goes. I think there's something powerful about sharing real processes. So I'd love to know if you thought that this was helpful, or if you would want to see more like this. Obviously, I could just share every video like this, but I don't know if it's always going to be helpful. Sometimes it's just helpful to see a good attempt and not all the bad attempts. But I would love to know. I really would. If you thought this was helpful, if you'd like to see more about this. And again, if you want to continue the conversation, if you want to be more just personally connected on our journeys of watercolor together, I would love to have you if you wanted to be a part of my new membership community that I'm building. And so I will leave all of the information in the description box below. And like I said, it's going to be a very, very small number of people that are going to be founding members. And I'm just looking for such a fantastic group of people that are just as passionate about bettering their craft, about learning more about watercolors, that are excited to learn, that want to stay curious, and I'd love to lead you on your journey. So I'll leave that in the box below, and I hope to see you in the next video.